Welcome to Music Sucks and I Want to Die. This is Matt. I got Jake with me.
That's right.
And today we are talking about past mistakes.
And hopefully by sharing them, we hope to rectify those mistakes by helping the future generation.
Please do not have our regrets.
Yes.
JK, well, kind of.
Only kind of JK.
Kind of JK.
Yeah. So today we're talking about the very important decision of going to like a music college or a conservatory.
Yes.
To study music after high school.
Yes.
Obviously, this applies to American people since we don't know what Europe's like, and I'm sure Europe is awesome. But we're talking about music college in America, where it costs $8 and you got to take student loans out and be in debt for the rest of your life.
I mean, as far as cost versus making money afterwards goes, it's probably the worst investment you could ever make.
Purely economically speaking, it's a disaster.
Yes. But are there perhaps other things that are more important that you get out of this?
Your own personal happiness. Because personally, I know a lot of happy musicians in the world right now. Anyway, we're going to get into all that shit. So yeah, we're going to talk about music colleges, why or why not to go, and kind of our general experience with it. Not all bad either.
So let's start, Jake. Back when you were a senior in high school or junior and thinking about colleges and applying, and what brought you towards the allure of the music school?
Well, I had like a very, very low GPA.
I was an idiot.
Yeah, I was an idiot. I skipped classes all the time. You can't get into colleges with a really high SAT score, turns out. So I don't know, music college seemed like pretty good. And also, no.
No options.
Exactly. No, in reality, I had a few options. I was seemingly had a decent talent in music by that time. By that time I was playing like 5 or 6 instruments, and I basically knew my way around without ever being taught anything, because I went to a small school. Mm-hmm. And like the good band teacher we had got like there was some weird racism drama for like 4 years because it was small town, buttfuck nowhere land. And all that shit aside, so we had a shitty band teacher until my senior year, where he came back for some reason. Like if I had that experience, I wouldn't, but like
he got unracismed.
Yeah, I guess. So that was weird, but like he's awesome, but I never really got taught anything. I figured that out as soon as I got to college, but I already kind of knew my way around. So I was like, almost like I didn't even think of anything else.
Sure.
I think would be my saying. Like I had a passing and still do have a passing interest in like law and shit like that, but and like math or whatever, physics. But music was kind of really the only thing that ever came to my mind of wanting to do.
Sure, yeah.
And I guess that's what really drew me to music college.
And you went straight from high school to Cornish, right? Well, you did like the Running Start stuff, so I guess you had some college.
Yeah, I had been in college for 2 years in high school because Washington State has that great program.
Right.
So I did that. I already kind of knew what college was like, so I guess that was kind of nice. But yeah, I went straight from high school to college, and thanks to that Running Start, I finished in 3 years. But yeah, I guess the only thing that drew me to it is that music was kind of the only thing I really knew I liked and wanted to do.
Right. I mean, I think this there's a lot of pressure. I do recall being a junior or senior.
Yeah.
And there's so much pressure of like, well, you have to have figured out what you want to do already.
Yeah.
And go to college. And so it's like, well, if that's what you know, that you like music. It's, you know, they don't, I mean, I know now it's more popular to take a year off or take a year of just general ed to kind of figure shit out.
Yeah.
But definitely I recall the pressure of, so you have your life figured out, right? You know exactly what you're gonna like do forever now. So
right? you're gonna go to your 4-year degree, then you're gonna get a bunch of job offers because you did so well in college, and then you got your career figured out.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And actually, when we were of that age, I feel like you're right. There was a lot of pressure, and the stigma of like taking a year off was almost like you're a loser.
Yeah,
at least where I grew up.
No, I had that too, where it's like, oh, you're just like a hippie, you're gonna travel for a year.
Yeah. Or the other option is, because I grew up near a military town. You know, you can go do that, and that's respectable.
Right. But you're serving our country.
Exactly. So that's kind of the stigma that I had associated with it. And also, you know, I had pressure from parents and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, my parents were both very supportive of a music career for me. God knows why. Maybe they're stupid too, like me. No, they're very supportive. It was really great.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's the other thing too. It's like, you don't, like we were saying, it's like, you don't really have time to think about what you might want to do. You don't have time to really consider, okay, post-college, what are the ramifications of me choosing whatever I choose now? We'll get to that later, but all that going on when you're
18.
When you're 18.
Yeah, it's rough. Honestly, I'm just going to go out and say this right now. 18-year-olds are fucking stupid.
They really are.
So you just don't have the life experience ready to make that kind of
Right.
decision. Like, I don't care how smart you are or whatever. You don't know the ramifications of your entire life by choosing your college career.
For sure. And you have no really like concept of the expense going, like just the college itself too. Like,
Yeah, like
that okay, so we went to Cornish in case we have new listeners today.
Yeah.
And Cornish is fucking expensive.
Yeah.
Like, regardless if you get loans or scholarships or anything, it's still like really fucking expensive to go there.
Yeah, I would kind of want to. When we went there, I think tuition's gone significantly up since then.
I'm sure.
But I think for in-state tuition, it was like $27K a year.
Well, it's not even in state at Cornish because it's a private school.
They get partial government funding.
Oh.
So there's a little bit. So it's not that much different.
Okay.
But there is a in-state and out-of-state fee. So it was $27K for me in-state, and I got a fuck ton of scholarships the first 2 years, and I still had to pay more than it costs for a whole year at UW.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So, and UW's, I mean, it's a state school, but it's, relatively expensive and a good school.
That is true.
So you pay a shitload of money, even with a bunch of scholarships.
Well, here's my question to you, too, because in my hometown,
Of Eugene,
Oregon.
Speaking of hippies. Hey-oh.
Yeah, University of Oregon has a really good jazz program, and that's
yeah?
what we studied at Cornish. Did you have any thought of like why Cornish over UW in particular, like doing a music degree at UW or music major, I guess?
None.
None. You
None.
just decided Cornish.
Just decided Cornish. Yep. I auditioned to both, got into both. Just went to Cornish.
Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, maybe I got rejected from UW. I can't even remember.
Well, okay.
Yeah. I think that might have been it. Yeah. I think I got rejected from UW. Because I auditioned on 2 instruments at Cornish, and they didn't let me do that at UW.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, they combined both my instrument auditions into one audition and gave me 4 minutes on each.
What?
Yeah. So they kind of hosed me, but that's all right.
Did
I
you
don't
do
really
Pop
care.
Goes the Weasel playing at the same time?
Yeah. No. That's a story for another day. But yeah, they rejected me probably because my GPA was 2.9 and also because I was not good.
I mean,
I was
okay, so that's
bad.
another thing, and like, this didn't necessarily apply to me, but like, if you go to a music school or an art school, they're less focused on the academics of
Sure.
high school
Yeah.
going into it, whereas a state school like UW or U of O really is going to take more consideration about your SATs and your
Yeah.
GPA
Especially
and all
UW,
that.
yeah.
Whereas I know a lot of people, a lot of classmates that we had, and I'm not saying anything, but I know a lot
You're
of them.
not saying anything.
Well, I know a lot of them, like they've told me they did not do well in high school.
Yeah.
But they didn't really matter going into Cornish.
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah. You can be dumb as a post and go to Cornish. And just for the record, I'm not dumb, right? Right, Matt? Right? Okay, just checking. Come at me with your SAT score in the comments. I'll come fight you. No, so you can, that's one appeal of going to music school, because if you fuck up in high school or
Yeah.
you're kind of a degenerate like me, you can get a home in high
Personally,
college.
I did really well in high school, had good grades, did like a bunch of extracurriculars. Just decided that music was what I wanted to do. And there was something about the idea of the music school to me as an 18-year-old was, I guess, somewhat like romantic in a way,
okay.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, as opposed to,
Conservatory.
yeah, I mean, like, well, Cornish is not
Well,
anywhere
yeah.
near that, but just the idea of like getting to focus specifically on that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I didn't want to go to U of O because I didn't want to live in my hometown anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But why I chose a private art school as opposed to anywhere else, say, was, I guess, almost like the opposite of what you were doing, because
Yeah.
I worked so hard in high school and I did like all the right things and I was just so sick of it.
Yeah.
And I liked playing music, and so it was kind of alluring to be like, hey, you can go and like pretty much only do music classes.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go to a state school, you have to actually do all the other stuff that's involved with that too.
Yeah.
Looking back, maybe that's not a great decision, because, I mean, like you were saying before, like you had other interests, like
Yeah.
law and whatnot. It's like, well, I mean, I guess we'll get to that in a second, but like we both kind of made this choice to pursue only music,
Yeah.
because Cornish did not offer anything else.
No.
And most music art schools do not really offer
Right.
anything else either outside the arts.
Yeah.
So as an 18-year-old, that sounds good. As a 31-year-old,
Well,
I'm dumb. Is what I'm saying.
well, so tell me more about you. You took a year off somewhere, right?
I did. I took a year off. Well,
There's a year gap in here somewhere that I'm forgetting.
I had applied to a bunch of schools, and I was not going to. I was thinking like music minor, more or less.
So I'm more sensible.
Yes, but I mean, not really, because I think I was going for like a philosophy major.
Oh,
So the opposite of sensible.
Yeah.
And I had an interview at my like top school scheduled, and like a couple days before, I was just like, nah, don't want to do that actually. And rather, I think I want to do music. And I think I was just burnt out.
Sure.
And there was just
because you actually worked hard.
I actually worked hard.
Yeah.
And I was feeling the pressure. And I had a really inspiring teacher in high school which our avid listeners might know, was the guitar player in the Captain Beefheart Magic Band.
Remind me of his name one more time.
That would be Bill Harkleroad. This is his real name.
Thank you.
But, he was like, as a mentor, it was really kind of inspiring having someone who, I mean, he grew up in like the 60s and obviously it was never a thing for him to go to college. He just joined this fucking band and then ended up doing that for the rest of his life. And
it's pretty sick.
Teaching and playing and recording and all this stuff. So that was really inspiring. So yeah, I think it was a little bit of a burnout and a little bit of just like, this sounds really cool and romantic.
Yeah.
So I decided to cancel my interviews for the schools I was going to go to. Problem was I was way too late in the game to actually apply to a music school at that point. So I was more or less forced to take a year off because I had no other choice.
Sure.
And that wasn't so much an impact on me, honestly. I mean, I got to like live away from home for a year before college, which was cool. But like, as far as career or music wise goes, I might as well have just gone straight to
okay, so you didn't gain this extra world experience. You didn't become a better man.
I had planned to practice a lot more during that year, and
how'd
I
that go?
Not do that.
Hey, fucking got him. Yeah,
I think it's a good gap years are a good idea in general for a lot of people.
I agree 100%.
Personally, didn't really do much for me, but I mean, I don't know. I never felt bad about taking a year off.
Yeah,
gave me more time to actually like be sure I wanted to do this, I guess.
Yeah, and has it affected your entire life at all? Has anyone judged you for taking that year off?
No.
Didn't think so.
No.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy I didn't take a year off in a way because had no life experience, grew up in small town crap USA.
Well, you didn't want to live with your mom another year at Whidbey Island?
Yeah, exactly. So I just needed, I wanted to live on my own because, I'm 18. I want to strike out and get to college and study up on some shit I really liked. And man, when I got to college, I did not realize how stupid I was.
I mean, that goes for any school, though, not even just like art school. No.
Of course, yeah.
For sure. I do think, I guess my words of caution for a young person thinking about going to an art school is just the fact that you can focus specifically on one thing doesn't actually mean that much once you get there. It's nice, but there's also a bunch of other bullshit that you still have to do when you're there. Mm-hmm. And even if it's all music classes, there's still a lot of bullshit with that.
We've taken some bullshit music classes.
Oh, yes, we have.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with, having like a minor or something.
Yeah.
Something else, which music schools don't often offer.
Right.
Outside of a music minor of another kind.
Yeah, which is more or less what I did, yeah.
Yeah.
I want to think I double majored, but I didn't.
Because Cornish doesn't offer that because it's not a real school.
You didn't. No, so I guess I kind of want to ask this question. Who, out of, let's say you have a group of aspiring young musicians, 17 to 18, juniors to seniors, who out of them should go to music school and who should not?
I think it has so much more to do with where you want to be and possible connections.
Okay. Like what kind of music you want to do? Or like what city you want to be in? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I think more that. I'm doing this as opposed to like going to like a state school and majoring in music or minoring in music or something like that. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you want to study music of some kind.
Okay. Yeah, that's...
Do you want to focus specifically on this and go to an actual music school, or do you want to more have the state school experience, all that stuff? Yeah. I would say music school is worth it if it can, if you want to like be in New York or something,
or somewhere where you have both economic opportunities and career advancement opportunities in terms of connections.
Right. And like I said, University of Oregon has a really good jazz program. There are no fucking venues in Eugene, Oregon. Okay. There's nowhere you can play.
Exactly.
So cool, you got a good degree, but
Even in even in Portland, there's nowhere to play.
Exactly. And Seattle.
Even in Seattle, they're not.
Even as I was saying, and Seattle is like almost like, I mean, it's the biggest like PNW city, I guess, that we have, but like
it's still a small city.
it's still a small compared to LA or New York or Chicago.
Yeah,
Exactly.
this is actually also, interestingly enough, the single most remote large city in the country.
That makes sense.
It is like to the nearest big city, San Fran. It's a 16-hour drive. Assuming you're a wiener driver, but still.
Well, that's the thing too. If you say go to like LA, I mean, it's like obviously it's still pretty spread out, but you still have within a reasonable amount of time drives to other big cities that play shows at.
Yeah, exactly. Like 2 hours away, or maybe 3, is like San Diego.
Sure, yeah.
And San Diego's enormous in comparison.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Seattle still.
Or even getting to the Bay. I mean, it's a longish drive.
It's like
but
7 to 8 hours.
Yeah, but you can do that.
Totally doable.
Yeah, totally doable. Here, it's like, well, I can go to Tacoma, Portland.
Yeah, Portland's your nearest big city, which is not a big city
and
at
then
all.
it's like, that's it until you get to fucking
Medford.
No. Yeah, there's nothing around here.
Get down to San Francisco. It's 16 hours, 13 from Portland.
Which I think this is a good thing to consider because for someone who grew up in Eugene, Oregon, Seattle seemed like such a huge city with like all this stuff going on.
You're telling me, dude, I came from Coopville.
Exactly. And it's like, and it is. It's a really great city and there is a lot to do and a lot of places to, well, pre-COVID, there's a lot of places to play, but it's not anywhere near the level of like
a Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. So,
or even like a Vancouver, 2 hours. That's a big city, actually.
But
it's also not in this country.
Yeah. So I think location would be a good consideration.
Yeah.
And especially like us coming from smaller towns wanting to get out of that. So yeah, totally makes sense.
That makes sense.
Totally makes sense. And connections are, certain faculty members on staff, if you are fans of their works or just the people. I mean, you and I met and we've been playing together for years and years now.
That's right.
For better or worse.
Well, also like with regards to specific faculty members, I personally did not check this box because I was too stupid to
I had no
look into that.
No fucking clue, dude.
Yeah.
No idea.
So you should do that, but I didn't.
Exactly.
And I kind of got lucky with how much of the faculty I enjoyed at Cornish, I guess in that sense, because I didn't look at all. But yeah, I think that's really important is you have to think about what connections you're going to make in choosing your school.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to make connections to, let's say, the film scoring industry? You'd go to like a UCLA or whatever. If you want to play hella New York jazz, you go to like MSM.
Or Berkeley.
Yeah.
Not to make this a whole Cornish Sucks episode, but make sure there's actually connections you can make at the school you go to.
Yeah, I will never forget ever in my entire life, my entire senior year, there was a bulletin board on the second floor of job opportunities, performance opportunities. It was blank every single day for that entire year.
They tried.
It was like, dude, you should just actually take this down because it's actually embarrassing to me.
So embarrassing.
Yeah. So Cornish did essentially nothing for our connections and furthering our careers.
No, we made friends. We had good teachers. Well, okay, let's get into this.
Sure.
Being in school. Okay, you decided that you're an idiot.
We graduated high school.
You're an idiot and you want to actually go to music school.
Yeah. Actually, right before we do that, I want to do one last thing. So we talked about location and also
connections.
A third thing I want to talk about is motivation. I feel like if you have doubts in, like, even in the slightest, like even the littlest back of your head, there's just a little bit back there, you probably shouldn't do it.
That's a good point.
Music career requires 100% commitment.
That is true.
Because it sucks. Like, you have to grind for your work all the time. You have to accept every gig in every genre you can possibly imagine. You have to play a not shitty instrument. Like, I little known fact on this podcast, I started on trombone. And when I reached the age of reason at 13, I switched to piano. And when I got to college, I dropped trombone forever because A, I realized I was awful. And B, I instantly knew that there was just piano's where it's at, dude. You get so much work.
For sure.
Yeah. So if you have any doubts about it, I don't think you should probably pursue a music college.
That is true. And like good transition because even like, okay, putting like post-college career out of the way, like, yeah, music school might be somewhat of a joke compared to an actual school where you have to do real things. But it's still a lot of work.
It's a good chunk of work.
It's not, it's a different kind of work, I guess. It's not necessarily you're staying up all night studying for a final or writing papers or anything like that.
I certainly did those.
Oh, well.
But then I took
That's because you took Eric Banks' class.
Yeah,
and he was the
took-
only one that actually was hard.
That's true. And I also took 26 credits a semester because I'm an idiot.
Well, that is also true. But I'm, compared to someone who has to like go do a fucking like
Exactly, like
huge thesis and
we're not studying. We're not
yeah.
studying aeronautical physics here, right?
Yeah, you're studying music, but to actually get the most out of it, you really have to work on your own.
Yeah.
Because you'll go and you'll like take your classes, but
How much you get out of those
Yeah.
classes? I'm glad you said it. How much you get out of your classes and your music college in general depends so much on you.
exactly, it's way more self-discipline than I think most other
Yeah.
majors that one might go into.
Yeah, well, even at a state college or whatever, you'll have like a counselor that will guide you. Make an appointment with your counselor,
Yeah.
and it's a career consultation
Sure,
too.
yeah.
You take the classes that you think they'll help you find all your schedules and all this shit. This didn't really happen at Cornish, and you really were in charge of what you wanted to learn every semester. They had a curriculum, but it wasn't extensive. It
was
wasn't all
not.
filled out for you.
No, literally, I mean, I don't know what it's like these days. I actually imagine it's less than it was when we were there because of the financial difficulties Cornish
Right.
has had, but more or less it was jazz, classical, or composer performer.
Yeah,
those were like the three.
and obviously, composer performer is a joke,
Yes.
at least at Cornish.
Yes. And so, I mean, you could like swap in and out of like the theory classes if you wanted.
which
but-
I did,
Yeah,
yeah.
but more or less, it's literally you have one path of classes you're going to take.
Yeah, and that's honestly why I took so many credits every year because I wanted to do both.
Yeah.
and I did both. And there were some days I wanted to fucking die, but it was. I think that was my way of getting the most out of it I could, and that's kind of where my self discipline came in. I just wanted to absorb everything.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think if you have that kind of motivation, I think music college can be really good for you.
I think so too. And like, I really feel like we have an unfortunate experience of Cornish because of its very minimal. It's a small college.
Yeah,
like I don't blame them for not having a huge, extensive class.
Yeah, I
size,
think the
'cause, like,
roster's 900 total, maybe 1100 on a good
yeah,
year.
exactly. So it's like that's nothing they were doing maliciously or anything like that. But if you were to look at like a Berklee School of Music class list or like a Cal Arts or something like that,
Sure.
there's a lot of options. But in a way, that's almost harder too. Like you're saying, you have to be really self-disciplined because like given all those options,
What do you pick?
what do you pick? What do you want to do?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they don't guide you because there's not really a step-by-step process to having a career in music. you know?
Or even to being a good musician.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you go to business school and it's like, well, learn this class, learn that, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Now you have an MBA, and you can go off to your venture
exactly.
capital firm
It's
or
like,
whatever.
well, what do you want to do? Here's all these options.
Yeah, and that's also because the music industry isn't structured in a way that is, I guess. So music does not affect the way the way business does. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's not a capital focused environment.
Right, and well-
I mean, it can be, but
Yeah.
So the industry itself, when you graduate college, is not focused on your job placement or anything like that. So therefore, the colleges aren't structured to get that way.
Exactly. You're not going to go up to a band and be like, well, here's my degree.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're in.
Question: how many people have you ever showed your degree to in your life?
My parents, I guess.
Have you ever applied to any job ever in your entire life where they cared?
When I applied to the music school I teach at years ago.
Okay, that's good.
They were like, well, I see you have a degree, so I guess, I know you can play music, but it's not necessary at all to teach you.
I think even some teachers at Cornish, professors, did not have degrees.
Oh,
Or-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get to this in a second, but like, if you go to music school, you're getting into something that traditionally never had actual, like, school. Classical aside, I guess,
Sure.
as far as conservatories go. But like, if you go for a jazz degree or something like we did, there's not like Thelonious Monk didn't go to fucking jazz school,
Right.
Like they got together with his peers, they like wrote, they studied theory on their own, things like that. Even Miles Davis, he went to Juilliard to study music, but that was very much technique and classical repertoire. He would still be going to the library and like looking at scores and like figuring this shit out himself.
Yeah. And he would go at nighttime or whatever to
Yeah.
go hang out with his friends, right?
Exactly.
And go talk a bunch of this whole new thing they're doing.
Yeah, so it's almost. It's a fairly recent thing that you can actually get a degree in this kind of
kind of
thing.
music,
Well,
yeah.
and even more so. Again, Cornish didn't really have anything like this. But if you go to like Berkeley, they have like like modern pop classes and shit like that.
Yeah. And it's debatable what exactly you get out of a thing like that, but I'm not here to judge. But just the fact that it's on offer is just really interesting.
Yeah.
In our time to study things like that is just it's almost kind of like trying to pin the tail on the donkey in terms of like what people are actually thinking when they do it, because you don't have enough time to digest like what the certain ideas are behind modern pop music, like production or like whatever.
Right. I mean, there's obviously like fundamentals and whatever.
Yeah, your 1 6 4 5.
Yeah. I mean, but yes, for real.
Yeah.
Yes. But to me, that kind of thing. And this can extend to jazz as well. That kind of thing seems to me more like we need to offer a curriculum of some kind here. Whereas, but like when it gets to the real world, like, yeah, I studied, pop production at Berkeley.
Ooh, actually, I guarantee you some like producers in LA, if you tell them that, they'll just be like, okay, dude, you're fucking cool, man. They would probably like take it almost as a pejorative or like a negative.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that comes back to like making the most out of it, meeting people, your classmates, whatever, and then faculty as well. I think and probably the most important thing.
Probably, and also just your own general excitement.
Yeah.
You have to respect your faculty. Which luckily at Cornish there was while we were there was a huge wealth of very talented, smart teachers.
There's a great faculty when we were there.
Yeah, and they've since ditched almost every single one of them, or they've all retired, or moved to better jobs. But while we were there, it was lit. Like there was my favorite teacher there was Emily Doolittle. There was Wayne Horvitz, who came from New York and all this composition stuff with like John Zorn and all of these different projects like that. There was Randy Halberstadt. He's been in the Seattle top jazz nerd for fucking 30 years, and has a very methodical teaching style. All these super dope teachers that knew a lot of shit. Yeah. Roger Nelson, Jared Powell, all these people.
And they were so open to, if you actually like wanted to have a conversation with them about something or ask for input,
they would do it.
They would
you could stop them.
do it.
You could stop them at the fucking coffee shop, because every single person at Cornish went to the same coffee shop.
Joe Barr.
And because I'm an idiot, I like the hot chocolate at Roy Street better.
Oh, the Starbucks one.
The Starbucks one, I know.
Fake Starbucks.
The fake bucks. So you could stop them at the coffee shop, and you literally just talk to them, and they're all like happy to talk to you about whatever project you're talking about, and they probably know what they're doing with your project too.
And that was a great thing about being, especially in like a small art school like that, is
the personal connection with your faculty. Yeah,
I think that would be the biggest advantage, because again, like anything that we learned out of there from like books or anything like that, you could easily learn that on your own.
Sure,
there's like the internet exists now, man.
Yeah,
there's plenty.
Although I would avoid doing internet and YouTube shit.
Well, I'm just saying, as far as like if you want to learn how jazz harmony works,
you could theoretically
a ton of resources for that, or even just scheduling a one-on-one lesson with a professional teacher and just being like, hey, I want to learn this.
You can learn a lot.
Set me up.
Yeah, you can learn a lot that way, really fast. I do think you do need a structured learning of some sort, so a private lesson would probably be the best compromise.
For sure. Point being, though, it's like you don't need, as far as learning content and things like that, you don't necessarily need the music school education, whether like a art school or a state school or anything like that. But yes, that faculty interaction, having the mentor thing, that's essentially what you're paying for, and like that's very hard to reproduce.
Yeah, and you are paying for something that has actual value.
Exactly, and it's like I've had guitar lessons throughout my entire life in high school and whatnot, and that's super valuable. Great thing about going to a music school is you have that same experience with like 6 or 7 teachers per semester.
Yeah.
So you can really get a bunch of different perspectives.
Yeah, and you're just trying to sponge as much as you can. And also you have people of your age group, peers with you doing the same thing that you can talk about and jam with and just, have a general living situation with, you know what I mean? You're surrounded at all times. You're immersed, if you will, in this essentially new language kind of thing.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think that's the most valuable thing. It's a good point. If you're trying to learn a new language, you would move to that place.
Yes, if you want to get nuts.
Yeah, that would be the best way to do it. And music school does put you in that.
Yeah, and again, you can learn a language online too. But you might end up with some holes here and there or whatever. But if you move down, let's say you're trying to learn Spanish, you move down to Mexico, and you're just there for 6 months, your Spanish is going to be lit.
Exactly. So you can get a lot. Again, if you have the focus, you have the good faculty, and you have good peers, you will get a really solid music education.
Yeah, you will probably be a good musician. There's one more little factor at the end of this, and this is where the Cornish thing comes in. So, good faculty and all that shit, good peers, good location. Gotta make connections. You have to get yourself ahead in terms of getting your name out there, getting your name to people who are in positions to give you work and also publicity and also opportunities for projects.
I think that's why what's really important, and which we did not do, as we were saying earlier, was looking to who is teaching, what are they doing, are they still like relevant, are they still active, are they playing a lot, are you in a city that has a lot of music?
Yeah.
That, I think, is a really important step that most people don't really look at.
And it might be the most important in terms of, okay, I guess it depends on what you want out of it. Most people who go to music school probably want a career in music. So if you want a career in music, and that means whether you like it or not, you know, being economically feasible, being able to pay your fucking rent and all that shit.
Yeah.
So you have to get connections out of it.
Exactly.
There's no other way. You have to market yourself. And quick question. How are the music business classes at Cornish? How are they? And by classes, I mean class. And by class, I mean joke.
I mean, personally, I learned a lot from two people who have not actually had to be up and coming musicians for like 40 years. Have no idea how it's like nowadays, really.
Yeah, especially with like, well, it's so much more complicated than it was in the 70s,
it is.
too.
I mean, like, we had maybe like 1 or 2 classes on like, you should have a website. And it literally was like, you should have a website.
Yeah, here's a business card template.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we're bringing in a guest accountant so you can file your taxes. Literally, all she told us was like 1099s, claim them, W-2s, claim them, pay for TurboTax Plus.
Yeah, she's like, you should hire me if you want your taxes done.
Exactly.
It's like, cool.
Like, great.
Thanks.
You just got paid to advertise your own business. Awesome. So
it was such a joke.
yeah, the business side of it and the connection side of it is so unbelievably important. And again, it's hard to think about that when you're 18, though. Because you don't have a lot of life experience. You don't really understand what the value of a dollar is, at least me personally.
Nope, definitely not.
Like, you know...
I mean, your parents are still helping you out. You know, like, you know...
You have jobs in high school or whatever, but like, it doesn't really matter.
You're not really an adult yet.
Exactly. And I don't know if I'm an adult yet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think... Well, again, this... Not to, like, diss any of the Cornish faculty, because they're all very successful and very great musicians, but if you look at what they are doing, like even the ones that we had, even though I know they've moved on a lot of times, but as far as like, okay, I'm a young person, I graduated college, okay, let's hit the city and be a musician. It's like, well, none of them really play here.
Yeah.
They don't, like, there's nothing going on. Like, there's, what okay, well, can you help me like meet some people? They're like, oh, we don't know anyone here.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now we're transitioning out of our college life.
Yes.
And we're in the real world. So this is going to sound like bragging, but I promise you it's not. I'm like one of the top musicians in the city, and that's sad because I suck. No, like I play lots of different stuff with lots of different people. I've pretty much played with everyone here.
The greatest white salsa pianist in Seattle.
The only white salsa pianist in Seattle. But no, like I've played with pretty much everyone. But look where it's fucking got me.
Well, and look at this too. I mean, like the people you play with, how many of them grew out of Cornish?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like, did you make a good connection in Cornish that got you to this really good gig?
Oh, fuck no, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
How I got my gigs was either like working my ass off, playing all these little tiny shitty gigs. I played like, when I was 21 or 22, I played like some 250, 300 shows a year, and that grew the next year and the next year. I just took everything I could every day and wanted to die right about age 24. But those little connections added up over time.
Sure.
And I had to make those by just getting my ass to the ground, playing shows and getting noticed that way, which is really, really hard.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, Cornish had that really good career board, as you were saying.
Okay, so one of my first gigs outside of Cornish, which was while I was in Cornish, I was like 19, and I met this trombone player who's fucking weirdo. I don't know if he plays anymore, thank God. But like, no, this is the type of guy who like, we were playing like a musical theater show and he would hit on the actresses backstage.
Creepy.
It's really creepy. And like, he was like awkward and really bad. But regardless, he set me up with this guy named Sammy Torres, who ran a salsa band, and he came up to me. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a pianist that plays salsa. Do you play?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." So
Since I was born.
yeah, exactly. So we go into a room at Cornish and we start playing, and I have fucking no clue what I'm doing. I didn't even know I was supposed to like not read the notes on the page sometimes, and, like, you know, because it's a lead sheet, and like sometimes those are the horn lines and all that shit. I like only knew what a montuno was by listening to like Barry Manilow or whatever, right? Whatever fake ass bullshit is, or even like a West Side Story, right? So anything like that. So I lied out of my teeth. I go to the first rehearsal because some reason he was like, "Okay, we're gonna give you a shot.
We need someone."
Exactly. There aren't a lot of salsa pianists in Seattle or like Latin pianists. So get to the first rehearsal and I'm a fucking nightmare, right? I go there and the conga player is just staring right into my eyes deeply and meaningfully and would just go like this. 1. Oh no. 1 for like 2 hours. Oh, God. But that week, and this is where the graft comes in, because I lied to get to that rehearsal. There's another rehearsal next week, and then we have the show, and they really can't find anyone else, so they have to go with me. But for the next 2 weeks in college still, I am just listening to nothing but salsa, and I bought salsa books. I bought Rebecca Molleon's book, like 101 Montunos You Should Know, or whatever it's called. It's somewhere in here. But I bought the book. I just fucking studied it nonstop. And then I got to the gig and then played it. And now, literally the next day, I was in 4 salsa bands.
There you go.
So
in that experience, how did Cornish help you prepare for that?
I don't know if it did at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was going to be like, maybe like, well, it gave me like, they taught me how to really like study music. But no, Cornish didn't really do that.
No, I guess.
So I will say, like, there was cases like our ensemble with Randy. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot from that, like preparing music and like putting on a show.
Yeah,
and,
that
like,
was good.
I learned a lot for like being in a band. Kind of thing.
Like a logistics of having bandmates. And
I learned a lot in that class.
And what to do when you book a show. Yeah,
exactly. But that was kind of it.
yeah. And that was. Like, I think one of the most important developmental moments for me was like in Ensemble 2 with Wayne.
Sure. Yeah.
Like at that point, I was in super duper jazz land already, and I was still awful. I still am, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Wayne almost said, like, taught us a whole new style of music where you just like use, not to sound like a hippie, but like you use your feelings and you use like, less so this super nerdy bullshit, which is useful, but like just music is also more than that and less at the same time.
It is. And I mean, I think, okay, this is going back to like being a young
16, 17, 18.
Yeah. Like look at, like, think about really what you want to do. Like, because I like jazz. I don't really play jazz. I never really wanted to play jazz. I went to Cornish to learn how to play jazz.
Sure.
But I realized after a couple of years, I'm like, it's not my thing. And like, you bring up Wayne, and that was a good example. Like, auditioning for him, he like, I think it was like, who's your like favorite guitar player? And I was like, actually,
Zoot Horn Roller.
I was like, oh, Nels Klein. And he's like, oh yeah, I know Nels.
We hung out, we made out once.
Yeah, exactly, right. And I was just like, wow, I don't have to play jazz. I can be cool like him.
Not in Seattle. No.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Again, like, look at what, like, think about what you want to do, like, or go somewhere with options.
Well, there's that, exactly. So coming back to my perspective, because I'm the most important. No. So when I graduated high school, I had no fucking clue what I even wanted for a music career.
Sure.
Like I had these ideas of me being like a composer, like, you know, a person who writes for orchestras around the world and shit and does competitions, or even like not competitions, like composers and residencies places and that way. But I also saw myself playing, you know, jazz piano a la like a Chick Corea or something, going on like massive tours with other jazz nerds. Or even like classical shit, like playing with local symphonies or major ones if I ever didn't suck, which I still do. So I had no idea what I wanted, and it's hard to make that choice ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this actually now, but
I mean, it's I guess what we're getting at here at the end of the day.
What we're circling around for like, 40 minutes now, yeah.
Everyone's experience is always going to be different. As much as you can when you're young, really try to think about what you might want post-college.
Yeah.
really look into where you're going, who is teaching at the places you're going to,
What music you like.
what music you like, what's around there, like where you might want to live. I mean,
Exactly. And all these, this seems so overwhelming, but like for this career specifically,
yeah.
you should have a good idea of all these things.
It's not the kind of thing where you can just go anywhere and get a degree, like a business degree or whatever, like you were saying.
And then you got offers for a degree 3,000 or a job 3,000 miles away.
It doesn't translate like that. It literally has to be like, honestly, it's a really important part of your career too, because you're at that age, you're like getting into a scene, that kind of thing.
And where you sometimes get excused for being a little green because you're so young, and young talent is very much revered.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're at a good age for making connections.
Exactly. So as much as you can. And also don't feel stuck. Like if you do end up doing this and you're like, I don't know if this is the right place for me. I don't know if I want to do music, or I want to do music, but I might want to do something else as well. Just because you committed to this and you already have somewhat of a relationship with the people there, it's not going to make a difference afterwards.
Right.
So if you're feeling something else,
get out while you can.
Yeah, get out while you can.
Yeah. Because when you're, let's say you have these feelings 6 years or so after you graduate college.
It's a little rough. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little rough. So on that note, I do think that I'm positive I'll be doing music the rest of my life. I'm pretty sure it'll be my career forever.
Yeah.
But
it's too late for us.
yeah, exactly. We're stuck in. I hope to make myself super famous and all that shit and like do awesome tours and whatever.
Yeah.
But man, I wish I had thought about it more completely at first.
I will say, I mean, like, I think the things that were good out of going to school, like especially the faculty, those are things that you cannot get any other way.
Right.
And so for that, it's 100% worth it. But don't think it's the only way to be a musician, because it's...
Yeah.
Most people actually don't do that.
Yeah.
It turns out.
An overwhelming majority.
Yeah.
Like, let's say, did Beyonce go to music school? Did Britney Spears go to music school? What's like a musician that...
I mean, I'm sure there's a bunch of jazz guys who went to like Berkeley and shit.
Yeah, that's probably true, huh?
Yeah.
So...
Rude Rish, he went to Berkeley and like UNT, I think.
Yep,
yeah, there you go.
Yep, Rude Rush is tight.
Yep,
So yeah, you can, and you have to know what you want.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, I remember him telling us at music school,
No.
like the one residency we ever had there.
Oh man, I bet that was lit, dude. The biggest regret of my life is not taking that class.
Right. I mean, but he was talking about like he learned a bunch of shit in music school. And then he told us, and then I moved to New York and I played in salsa bands.
Yeah,
because that's all I could do.
Yeah. You told he's like playing merengue sax parts, and he's like, "Oh, this is actually hard." Fuck.
Exactly. So it's like obviously it all came back later as he got more popular and made his own music and became a band leader and things like that. But
You gotta pay your dues, man.
you gotta pay your dues.
That's right.
And
You have to grind from the bottom, unless you get super duper lucky. The people who make like super awesome connections and get picked up to go, produce people are one in a million. And not necessarily because they're more talented. It's all a big crapshoot at that point.
Yeah.
But the grind at the bottom is less of a crapshoot. The more you get yourself out there, then you make yourself noticeable in whatever way. Then you probably will get connections. It's just location matters of how far you can go.
Yep. Well, and then, yeah, exactly, into it, especially to our listeners who are out there in a very small town without much music or anything like that. Like,
Leave.
Leave. And this is a really good way. I mean, you could leave, you could just move and like hope something happens and goes to jam sessions, or you could go to a school and meet people, make friends, that kind of thing.
And that could be worth it.
That could be worth it for sure. So just... Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I guess in like conclusion, music college is, as you might have expected us to say, is not an inherently bad decision.
It is not.
And actually it can be a really good decision. I think it benefited me in a lot of ways.
I agree.
I would have been a complete shitter forever at music, if not for music college, because I don't know, I was a dumbass, but so I just wasn't the type of person who, like, I was already like kind of good, I guess, but I was never going to be like,
sure, you needed the focus.
I needed the focus, So music college can be a very good thing.
It can. If you have the drive, you have the dedication.
Yeah, and you know what you want.
And you know what you want, or at least have some idea.
Yeah.
Again, really take that into consideration
Yes,
when you're
and
applying
if
for
you
this
need
stuff.
to, if you need to, take a year to take that into consideration, one whole year
Honestly,
or more.
if you're looking at a school, take a year off if you can. Like, I know not everyone has these means, but
Right.
take a year off and like maybe move there and try like playing,
maybe-
meet some musicians.
Yeah,
like,
go
get
to a jam
job.
session, or even if
Yeah.
you can, try and take a lesson from one of the faculty
Yeah,
members.
exactly. Yeah, like put more preparation than we did, because high school will tell you like, oh, you have to apply to these schools, blah blah, and that is true if you're going for a more traditional degree.
Yeah.
A lot of what they are telling you to do does not necessarily apply to an arts degree.
Yeah.
It's much different game. It's a much different world.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the more personal preparation you can do, the better.
Yeah, and that'll help you point your career in the direction you want to go. And honestly, the overwhelming majority of people with music degrees end up teaching.
Yep.
Not a bad thing.
Nope.
Teaching's good. I teach one student now, which is one more than I've had the past 10 years. And I'm not the evil thing I thought it was. There's also, at least I thought there was always a little bit of a stigma about the musician who also teaches. But like, it's just fucking wrong, dude.
Musicians just need money.
Exactly,
it turns
dude.
out. So
And money's tight. Money,
yeah.
and I don't mean that like money's good. It is good, but money's
gotta
tight.
diversify your income.
That's, oh man, brings me back to the Chappelle show.
Just watch that episode last night.
Did you really? Yeah, that was good shit. So yeah, in conclusion, go to music college if you have the drive, the dedication, the idea.
The comfort of being in debt for the rest of your life.
Yes, or
Or look into state schools. There's nothing inherently better about a music college
No.
as opposed to a school with a good music program.
exactly. But also, if you're going to a state school, you should also make doubly sure that they have faculty you want.
Yes.
But other than that, if you have any doubts about a music career at all, this is not the career for you. It requires 100% dedication to make a living out of.
Exactly.
Especially if you like are trying to avoid teaching and just trying to get it through playing. You have to work your fucking ass off. I did it forever, and I have.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter really.
Yeah, I have decided. I've decided not to do that.
Yeah.
So
you're almost better off just moving straight to a layout of high school and trying that. Like it's almost the same
Exactly.
amount of odds if that's your goal.
Exactly.
But
So-
it's not going to help you at all, really.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it. Just it's not an inherently bad thing. Just do it if you need to. Got any rants besides that whole last episode? We're moving on from the main topic now.
Not really. You?
I'm trying to think. All my rants are like bad things I watched on TV these days because COVID is, what it is.
Could rant about that.
Oh, I have just a little baby rant. So you know how COVID has canceled every gig that's ever happened in our entire life.
Yes.
I had a gig that we were going to play outside of COVID,
You had an actual gig,
we had a gig, and then it got canceled.
not because of COVID.
Not because of COVID, but I thought it was going to be COVID, but then it was a giant snowstorm, and it's like, can't catch a fucking goddamn break, can I? I can't catch a break. That was like 250, and I could use about 250 right now.
Why don't you just live stream, bro?
Yeah. Oh my god, do you just make me do another rant right now? Oh, did we do this rant like fucking 6 months ago?
I know, and people are still live streaming.
I know. Well, actually, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, a lot of people are not live streaming.
What did we
anymore.
say that episode? Did we say that live streams were eventually going to go down and like no one would do it anymore because it's a nightmare?
Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Okay, not that we're super geniuses. This is the most obvious result in the world. So live streaming sucks ass. I'm not going to do it.
No, it
I
sucks.
hate it. Ugh. I would do it as like for fun, I guess.
Yeah, that could be a fun thing, but not even. Doesn't even sound that fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if you like got your friends on board or something and you just like,
I'd rather just like play with my friends and not live stream.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're COVID conscious and shit, but like whatever.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. And the gig got canceled and it was 250 and it wasn't because of COVID. I'm like, come on, dude. Give me a fucking break here.
Well, in brighter news, we have a gig booked for 2022.
That's right. I have a few on the books for
Oh, there you
2022.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
What a legend.
Oh my god.
One of those is like $700.
Hell yeah.
That I'm not going to get for another year.
Just don't die before then, I guess.
I'll try not to get COVID and die. Well, I guess that does it for us. What you been listening to?
I've been listening. I've been on my R&B kick still.
Okay.
I've been listening to some Janet Jackson.
Yes. I love Janet, dude.
Her album Control.
Okay. I don't know of her albums at all.
It's like it's I think her third album, but it was like the first one that was not like Joe Jackson influenced.
Okay.
So it was her just being like, I'm a pop star too. Fuck Michael, but not really because Michael's still way better. But no, it's a very good album as far as like her getting out of that shadow of the Jackson family.
Sure, yeah.
It's got that sound of,
Oh, of course. She has that sound and will always have that
Yeah,
sound,
I know, but there's some really good songs. Really a lot of like empowering feminist songs.
Oh, okay.
Which obviously I don't really like.
Wow.
But
But no, that's cool.
no, she's a very talented singer, songwriter.
Her songs are cool.
Yeah.
Like,
just-
I think my favorite song ever of hers is Together Again, and it's like, really cool. It's got a couple key things.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
got
It's
really
good
neat
shit.
stuff.
She's cool. She's
6
cool.
bar phrases,
She's
whatever.
cool.
Yeah,
She's cool. And it's been in the news more because it gets Justin Timberlake's like canceled now.
is he really? Did he get canceled?
Yeah. Well, so like that whole Britney Spears documentary came out.
Yeah. I wanted to
Yeah.
watch that. We're actually going to be doing an episode on Britney Spears in not too long. So
I feel like we're too late now because the whole documentary just came out.
that's
now.
true.
We're like,
Oh,
yeah,
fuck.
it.
Well, go watch the documentary.
But anyway, apparently he was like a shitty boyfriend to Britney. And then everyone's like, hey, actually, remember when he took Janet Jackson's like top off and her nipple was out in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I guess that was fucked up.
Yeah, I guess that was a bad thing. Oh,
So, yeah.
shit.
But anyway, so that's, I don't know. Anyway, Janet has been in the news lately, I guess, for that.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so I've been listening to her. It's good shit. It's good shit.
that's badass.
How about you?
I've been listening to Mr. Bungle.
Oh, my God.
I know, Mr. Bungle, very popular band for some reason, signed by Warner Brothers. Never know why. Very strange band.
There's a lot of weird bands signed by major record companies.
Yeah. So the 90s were a hell of a drug. So the album I'm specifically talking about is California, which is a lot different than their other stuff. A lot of their earlier stuff is even more weird.
It's true.
So this album is like for me, strikes a really nice balance between more pop sensibilities, like clear structures, and then like very obvious melodic ideas, but with like strange undercurrents of chord progressions and instrumentation that's kind of whack, and also huge genre diversity.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's kind of one of their things, obviously. So I was listening to California by Mr. Bungle, and I think it's tight and badass and sufficiently baller.
They'll never be Red Hot Chili Peppers level of California music, but yes.
Oh, God, if only. We all love the Chili Peppers here, man. I was listening to a Chili Pepper song the other day, and I
Did it
didn't
go
hate it.
hook good dip but no, it
Didn't. Actually, I wanted to do this episode someday of the worst outros in the history of music, and I wonder if you can guess what song I'm thinking of because of that. The worst outro, possibly in history of music, by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Is it Under the Bridge?
Yeah.
I don't mind the outro.
Oh, what?
I kind of like it. I
That's
don't know.
so
I like how they
fucking
had like all their friends and family sing it, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I kind
that's
of
so cool.
I kind of like it. It just.
Oh, man.
I mean, it's not like okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's everything he sings.
Yeah,
Everything he sings is terrible. You
Not
can't
the
just
rest of
point
that
that
song.
out.
Okay, that's what I guess I really mean, is that the rest of that song is kind of different, right?
That is a very bizarre song because the intro is also completely different than
the
everything
entire song,
else
yeah.
that happens. In that
Yeah, that's the
song.
only time that material happens, yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like that song. I like the first 3.5 minutes, and then the drums kick in. It's like, my earth is, yeah. And I hate it. I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mr. Bungle, California. It's tight. Go listen to it. I'm
Don't
Jake.
listen to the Chili Peppers.
My name's Jake.
I'm Matt.
And this is Music Sucks and I Want to Die. Please follow us on Twitter at Music Sucks Cast, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple Podcasts,
YouTube.
Subscribe to our YouTube. We finally figured out a hopefully not shitty looking shot today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll find out.
My dress shirt is hanging over the light
Jesus,
in order to make it like not look so horrible. Hopefully, so make sure to leave us a comment and tell us how stupid we are for trying to make this shot happen. And with that, we're fucking out of here.
Bye.
Bye.
On the day that you live.